Welcome back to another episode of the Food Explorer podcast. I've got a great guest in the studio today, but before we introduce her, please like and share us on all the social media that you partake in for your chance to win a beautiful tin of Tray olive oil from our friends right over in East Long Meadow. But before further ado, I want to introduce a super talented bakery and restaurant owner. She has appeared on the Food Network. She's got a huge social media presence. She runs a virtual baking boot camp. She goes by Alina, Mom, but today it's Chef Alina. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for coming in. And I'm so psyched to finally meet you because your career is really, really interesting. And I would love to hear a little bit about how you got started.
All right. So how I got started, I've always been obsessed with food since I was a kid. I don't know if that's how you were, but
absolutely.
I think most chefs, either we've been obsessed when we were kids or we grew up around not such good food, and that's what makes people become a chef. It's like one or the other. I grew up in a house where we cooked a lot, and I've always was obsessed with food. I started working in restaurants when I was 13, as soon as I could, out in the Berkshires is where I grew up.
I feel like we have the same story.
Yeah, right. And then in high school, I worked in restaurants all through high school, got my first job as a pastry chef in high school. My father was a contractor and he built a restaurant in Great Barrington. And
great town.
Yeah, it was for these people that also had a restaurant in New York and they were opening one there. And being 16 and not knowing any better, I was like, oh, I'm going to make the lady a tray of desserts and bring them to her and ask her if she'll hire me.
Yeah.
And it worked. And she
Hospitality
did.
101. It was like in the blood already. Yeah.
So that was my first job. But I didn't, after school, a couple of things. One, there was not many women in the kitchen back then.
Sure.
Most of the guys I worked with were grumpy old men who didn't love their job.
Well, I got news for you. I still have a couple of grumpy old men in the kitchen, but it's
Salty
nice to see
cooks,
women
right?
coming in. Yeah.
And it wasn't considered really a career. Like at that time, I think you couldn't even in the 80s, there were no pastry programs. CIA didn't even have one yet. And that's what I really loved at that time. And so it wasn't even like a consideration that would be my career. Like my parents, my guidance counselors, like it just wasn't even a consideration. Like you wouldn't even think that wasn't considered. It was before Food Network. It was before chefs like had any cred, right?
Yeah, especially all the online stuff too. It didn't exist.
Yeah, being a chef was nothing here like it is now, and like maybe then it was in other countries. So I went away to school for exercise physiology, kind of the opposite. And I had a fitness career for 10 years. And through that time, like I always was cooking and baking. I always loved to. I cooked for some of my clients when I was a personal trainer. And then I got pregnant with my son and moved. I had, through college, moved out and I was in the Boston area. And when I got pregnant with my son, we moved to Central Mass, to Sturbridge, to that area, to be more rural and kind of in between my ex-husband's family and my family.
Yep.
And I realized, I'm like, I don't want to drive to Boston anymore to be a personal trainer. Like I have an infant. I was pregnant, 6 months pregnant. I was I'm not doing it anymore.
Kids change everything.
Everything.
You know, you have to make that shift.
Yeah. So you start thinking about what you really want to do. I think that happens to a lot of people. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew it wasn't fitness because the industry is not the same if you're not in the city. And legitimately, my husband came home from work one day and said, I can't find a good loaf of bread anywhere. And I said, that's what I'll do. I'll open a bread bakery.
That's awesome.
Like, that's just me. So for 6 months, the last 6 months, about 6 months of my son's pregnancy. So for the majority of it, I baked a lot of bread, read a lot of textbooks. I'd only ever worked in restaurants, never worked in a bakery. And when my son was 6 months old, I opened my first little bread bakery out of a corner of somebody else's. I rented like a tiny corner of someone else's store.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so now in that little store, was there a kitchen there? Were you baking off site and bringing it in and just retailing there? Or?
They gave me, I want to say like 300 or 400 square feet. I didn't have much space. I got a Blodgett double oven. I put in one little stacked double oven. I had probably a 12-quart KitchenAid, like big enough that fit on the counter that I could do decent size. And I did mostly bread and cookies. It was like a little farm, it's still there, farm stand kind of store that also has a deli.
It's awesome.
And so I sold out of there for about 2 years. And then it grew pretty quickly. And I moved into my own location from there and started doing breakfast and lunch also.
It's awesome.
And then from there, moved to a bigger location in Worcester that became really full service with a full bar and everything, and was there until 2017.
Now, how did that shift happen? What made you move away from the restaurant business and the bakery business and get into the new career, which, I mean, you're on fire on the internet. I mean, you got tons of followers, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and you're doing great things, you know? So what made you make that transition?
So when I grew, so when I first moved to Worcester, I had my own space that was still a little bit bigger. And then I was approached by a couple of people who wanted to invest, who own lots of different businesses, to move into a really, really big spot. So we did. But now there's 3 partners. And you know the restaurant business and what the margins are.
Oh, yeah.
And we had very good numbers, what we did in sales. But when you take 5% of your numbers and then split that between 3 people at the end of the year, and as the owner operator, like, yeah, I was taking a salary as a chef and everything, and I loved what I did, but the amount of work it was and the way that I was married to the business, because the other 2 of them were not restaurant people also, they weren't involved in day-to-day at all.
You're doing the majority of the lift and splitting it. I have a hard time splitting 5% with myself.
Right.
You know, it's like
right. And I loved it. I loved my staff. I loved my customers, but the amount of hours I was working, I wasn't present for my son, and he was in high school, and I was like, you know, he doesn't have that. I don't have that much longer that he's under my roof. Well, I thought that anyway. He's still under my roof.
I would have it no other way too.
Right,
we say to our kids all the time,
like,
you know, you don't have to rush moving out. It's going to be okay. Yep. You always got a room here. You know.
I think the old model, the way people used to do that, there's something to be said for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was 2017. And decided to close, which was a big thing. It was crazy.
Scary.
It was scary. I wanted to really make sure my staff was taken care of. I still talk to and mentor a lot of them. We had a crazy couple of months because we announced it with time. So we were just like,
not only
nuts.
are people coming in, but everybody who's like, we got to use that last $10 on the gift card, you know.
And then everyone that wanted to work that last time, staff came back that had worked for me years before because I needed extra help, and so that part was all kind of cool. But I didn't really know what I was going to do. I didn't really have a plan. It was scary.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, thank goodness I did it when I did it, because it was just a few years before COVID.
Oh, right. So, which turned the whole business upside down. It was a crazy thing to
It was
go
nuts.
through.
What I started doing, I guess that kind of leads into what got me into what I do now, is when I closed, I started doing restaurant consulting. So I was doing menu development, recipe development, training, things like that for other restaurants and bakeries. I was hired as an interim culinary director for a very big private country club. So I was there for like a year and a half. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And no one needs a restaurant consultant during COVID.
Definitely not. Yeah. Especially when you've only got like 25% of the operation going. It's all takeout. I mean, if somebody was trained and had to, handle a pandemic with a restaurant background.
Oh, you could have made bank.
Yeah, you could have made bank. But we were all like going through it. I remember the same, we were putting up greenhouses, and we're like, is this going to work? We hope it's going to work. And thank God we're still here after all these years. But I can imagine the consulting business just goes away.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So I thought I was going to I had already been kind of, while I was doing other stuff, like had started a website and thought, well, like I'll do the food blogger thing and do recipes online and make money off of ads and all that kind of stuff. And social media at that point had not really even still blown up. It really blew up through COVID, I feel like, to what it is now.
Sure.
And then I was online in some groups, and I started seeing people teaching courses and stuff. And I told you this story before. I was in a group, and somebody asked, how do you make $50,000 a week? And some guy said, I sell some recipes. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Incredible.
And he told me how his wife had taught online courses for home cooks for sugar cookie decorating. And so the part that I kind of skipped over is throughout this is that right before, one of the other things that led to me closing is that in the year before, I started having like health issues and started forgetting things. I hid it from my staff for a long time till I couldn't anymore, and then was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid autoimmune disease.
Got it.
And as part of that, they told me to go gluten-free. And my whole career, my life's been built around like baking, flour, and gluten, right? Of course. So I started looking online at different gluten-free groups and just like kind of seeing what was out there and at recipes, and very quickly noticed there was a need. Very quickly saw this confusion, saw what people were aggravated with, saw what aggravated me. Like every recipe that I looked at, told me I needed 7 different flours. And I was like, I'm a pastry chef and I don't want 7 different flours in my kitchen. Like that's annoying because this recipe takes this 6 and this one takes, different 6, and what home cook wants to deal with that. So I realized that I became really passionate about that. I wanted to find a way to help people to simplify it and to be able to make really good food gluten-free. So I started taking, I had binders from all my years in the industry, from all the restaurants and stuff, of all my recipes. So I started going through them and converting them all.
So you did the conversions. You didn't like go out and, find new recipes or build new recipes. You kind of took all your old stuff and converted all that using these different gluten-free flours. Wow. It's a lift.
Yeah. It's a lot of testing, but very quickly found. So I started a community online. I started a Facebook group, and it started to grow pretty quickly. I started it in May of 2022. And when we had about 300 members, I think I started asking, that was around the time that I had that guy had said that online. So I started asking, like, would you guys be interested if I did classes or did some sort of a membership and then I poll a lot. I ask them all. I ask my audience. I tell people all the time, whether you're even brick and mortar, if you have a restaurant, like give me a Facebook page, ask your customers what they want. Because if you give them what they want, they'll buy it.
Right. They'll
it's
come.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
So I started asking, and there was a definite interest. I gave more than I took in the beginning. I gave away a lot of just being super helpful in my group and other people's groups, which I think helped me build my audience. And it kind of snowballed because by July 4th of that year, I think I had 10,000 people in my group. And I started my membership, started doing courses in, I think August of that year. July was the first month we did a membership. Started doing subscription membership. Awesome. And I had nothing built. I did it as I went. So each month, and so it's still the same kind of structure, is that each month they get 2 new classes. So each month I produce 1 class that is fully recorded, edited.
Yep.
Class that you can watch on your own time, and those we also sell in my shop, so you can just buy a one-off class on whatever the topic is. Cool. Yeah. And then if you're in the subscription membership, you get that class, but you also get a live bake-along class with me once a month, or cooking, whatever, but a live class once a month.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome.
So they get 2 classes every month.
And do you put together a calendar of what those recipes are going to be so that people can look forward to those classes, or is it kind of today we're just doing this?
About a month ahead, sometimes a little bit more than a month ahead. I pull them. This year we're actually doing Around the World, which was an idea from one of my people that's been in my membership for 3 years. And she's like, hey, what if we did stuff from cuisine from all different countries? So we did last month. Well, actually, last month is today the 31st?
Yeah, 31st.
So this month.
Yeah.
This month we did an Irish farmhouse supper. So our cook along class, we did Colcannon, and we did an Irish apple cake. And so they, cooked along. So it's fun. A lot of what I do for classes comes from, now that I've been doing it so long, I've done most of the classes that are the ones that everybody would want, the hardest things for gluten-free baking, which is breads. I've done a lot of breads.
Your breads look amazing too. They look soft. And I was watching one of your clips, and you were like, this bread doesn't even need to be toasted. And everything you do on there, I was kind of a little jealous, because I'm looking at the Instagram feed, and I'm looking at, you had the the Liege waffles, right? Yeah. Which I told you inspired me to buy the pearled sugar, and I'm making them for the family. The Fig Newtons, that's going to get me to subscribe. Yeah. I'm all about the Fig Newtons. So your stuff looks awesome.
So it's fun. It's really fun because when you build a community, I really have an interaction with them. For most of my audience are mothers and grandmothers, the majority. A lot of them are people that are cooking not just for themselves, but for kids. And I've become really passionate about that because to me, you'll get this, I love talking to chefs about it. Food is so much more than just fuel, right? Absolutely. Yes, food is fuel, but it's
love,
it's nourishment, but it's all of your family's traditions, your family history. So much is tied to food. All our celebrations, all our biggest life moments are tied to some sort of food tradition. Imagine as a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old being told you can never have your grandmother's chocolate chip cookies again. Right. I get emotional about it. So that got me really passionate about it because I see all these parents trying for their kids and how hard it is for them when a child is first diagnosed. It's one thing if they're really, really little because they never know any different.
Right.
And I see adults, it's hard. It was hard for me to switch, but we're adults. Like, you get over it, you figure it out.
Sure.
But the hardest is kids, and they're like elementary teens, preteens, like going to parties. They can't have pizza. Their friends they always feel different. They always feel a little bit left out. So I'm really passionate about trying to help
that connection them. For me. Like, I have two little kids, 8 and 9. Yeah. And so for me, I never even think about it because nobody in our family has any intolerances, celiac, anything like that. And we host parties all the time, and there is one kid that comes over and she's got a couple of different allergies. So we always make sure she's good. But I never thought about like the little kid that can't have their grandmother's cookie or a slice of pizza. And so that's awesome that's been such a big passion for you that way. Yeah.
It's really become, and that it makes everything I do. Like, when I get people from, the greatest thing about being online too is that people all over the world, like my audience is literally all over the world. And to have people from different countries telling me how much it's changed their lives or their kids' life, you think like on one level, we're just making food, but it really, when it's food allergies, it's really different. Yeah, it's very different.
Now, do you have any books out there, or do you do most of your recipes and all that stuff through the internet as well?
I have, everything's online right now. So I have an ebook that like people can download and print if they buy it. I'm working on a bread book because people want my bread recipes in book form. So I am working on a bread book. But yeah, otherwise everything's all online.
I love it. So now, what's next for you in our online world? Are you going to just stay with developing the courses? Do you have any plans to expand that at all?
So I recently have introduced, I guess that's the entrepreneur in me, always looking for where there's needs for things. So I hadn't even planned on my original plan was the next thing was restaurants and hotels. Like, I was so excited when you told me how much of your menu is gluten-free. Like, that's amazing. Because as an industry, we could do a lot better.
I agree. We could do a lot better. We had to. We had no choice.
But a lot of people don't see it that way and don't understand. And the allergy community is super loyal. Like, there's certain restaurants, there's one in Middleborough, there's a few around Massachusetts that people will drive hours to because they know that they feel safe when they eat there. And so that is now the next thing for me. But I thought it was what I was going to do last year. And then in the online world, very quickly noticed popping up the whole cottage baking community, because that's become a huge thing. People
what is that all about?
So like people that make sourdough became such a huge thing, right, during COVID or whatever. So people that bake out of their home kitchens, get a licensed as a home kitchen and sell like cookies or bread. Most people do a few products and sell at farmers markets or sell off their porch or do drops where they announce online and you buy it. It's become huge. It's the rules, depending on the state, vary greatly. Massachusetts is one of the harder states. And then on top of it, having come from the restaurant industry and knowing about margins and profit loss and all that stuff, I see all these people online in these groups talking about it and how hard they're working and issues they're having because they're not treating it like a business from day one. It's a hobby, and they don't realize that a lot of them are not making money. Maybe they're breaking even. It's an expensive hobby. So I created a course for that last August. I think we're on our third cohort. I run live. It's a 4-week course.
And you're teaching them the economics of running it as a business, how to get licensed, all those things?
How to find everything for their state, production flows, because especially with baking, because that's heavily, it's almost all baking. Some states are allowed to do food, but a lot of states you're only allowed to do baking. Even just production flows, right? If you've never worked in a commercial kitchen, they don't think about batching things, about like mise en place ahead of time, about having a day for scaling and a day for baking, like stuff like that. So I teach them all those things too.
It's also rotation probably, right? I mean, I could imagine like, you come in and you bake all this stuff and you've got all this money sitting here and you bring it out to places, and if it doesn't sell, what do you do with it? So it's like you really have to be smart about how you're rotating and getting it out there. So that's another awesome
and a lot of people that are taking that course are also gluten-free bakers. So gluten-free bakers that are cottage bakers. I'd have to say heavily, because people know me for that now. You don't have to be. I have people in the course that aren't, but heavily, because it's a little bit harder for them because they have to worry about being safe and how they communicate that to customers and stuff too.
That's awesome. So you've become like just a mega mentor for people, not only on the internet with your, classes, but just in the whole gluten-free community. So my hat's off to you and what you've been able to accomplish. I mean, hearing your story, like, going from the restaurant, I think it's so brave, because it's one of those things. I think when you look at, your business from 30,000 feet, there's things that make you happy. There's things that don't make you happy, and being brave enough to take the leap and do what you've done is just highly commendable. And I'm so happy that I got a chance to learn from you today. And so I appreciate you coming down, and I hope we stay in touch and collaborate in the future. Yeah. And I got to learn how to make the gluten-free fig Newtons, please.
Yes.
I need the recipe. You got to send it to me.
I will.
And
it's great.
we also have a little gift for you coming from Trey Olive. So beautiful olive oil.
I love olive oil.
For coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
And I hope our paths cross again. And until they do, though, I need you to tell all of our viewers out there, the millions and millions of people that are watching this podcast, where can we find you on the internet, and how do we track you down to subscribe?
So you can find me at chefalina.com, and then on all social platforms at Chef Alina E.
Awesome.
So mostly Instagram and Facebook. I don't really do much with TikTok. And YouTube, we just kind of really started up. TikTok is kind of there, but I don't really do much with it.
I love it. Well, go find her, learn, be mentored by her. She's awesome, smart, super talented, and it's been absolutely our pleasure to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.